All right, let's talk about something that's running in the background of every single financial decision you make, your emotions. We're going to dive deep into this hidden engine, explore why we're so often wired to buy high and sell low, and most importantly, figure out how we can finally take the wheel.
You know, for the longest time, the world of finance was built on this idea of the rational actor, right? Homo economicus, this perfectly logical person who always makes the best choice to maximize their wealth. But let's be real. If you've ever felt that pit in your stomach when the market tanks or that rush of excitement from a hot stock tip, you know that's just not the full story. So that brings us to the big question we need to tackle today. Are our financial decisions really rational? Well, to really get to the bottom of that, you have to realize there are two different kinds of knowledge at play here. On one hand, you've got the nuts and bolts, the financial facts, right? How the markets work, all the data. That's the stuff you learn in a textbook. But then there's this whole other side, human behavior. How we actually operate, the shortcuts our brains take, our emotional and cognitive quirks. And honestly, that's where things get really fascinating and frankly, where most of the mistakes happen.
Okay, so to really unpack those mental shortcuts, we've got to look at how our minds are wired. It turns out there are kind of two systems running the show. And understanding this framework, well, it's absolutely key to figuring out why we make the financial choices we do, especially those ones we look back on and think, what was I thinking?
So you've probably all heard of this, right? The famous System 1 and System 2, thanks to Daniel Kahneman. System 1 is that gut feeling, the blink system. It's fast, automatic, emotional. It's great for most of life, but in finance, it's that knee-jerk reaction to a headline. Then you've got System 2. That's the think system. It's slow, it's deliberate, it takes effort, and its whole job really is to step in and say, whoa, hold on a second, and correct the potentially, well, expensive mistakes that System 1 can make. Okay, so let's take this framework and apply it to the two biggest drivers in any market, hope and fear. I mean, these are pure System 1 gut punches, and man, do they send investors on one wild emotional roller coaster.
And I really want to land this point. We're not just talking about numbers on a spreadsheet here. When we talk about fear in the market, it has real-world physical effects. That stress you feel watching your portfolio just plummet, trust me, it is not just in your head.
And look at this. This is incredible. A study actually looked at hospital admissions on days when the stock market took a massive dive. And what did they find? A huge spike in people being admitted for anxiety-related issues. I mean, that's a direct, measurable line from Wall Street to the emergency room. It just goes to show you, this fear isn't some abstract concept. It's visceral. It's physical. So you can see how this creates a predictable cycle. When the market's booming, what happens? Everyone gets hopeful. You get that FOMO, the fear of missing out. You see things going up, and your brain just assumes they'll keep going up. So you expect high returns, and you start thinking there's no risk. But then, the bust. Think 2008. Suddenly, fear is in the driver's seat. Everyone expects low returns and high risk, which is exactly when people panic and sell at the absolute worst possible time. It's their System 1 just screaming, get out. This brings us to another really powerful emotion. You know, it's funny. We call it greed when we see it in other people, but in ourselves, that's ambition. But when you dig into it, especially in finance, a lot of that ambition is really just a stand-in for something else, this never-ending quest for social status. And when that drive for status goes off the rails, boy, can it be destructive. I mean, look at these examples. You've got Rajat Gupta. He was on the board of Goldman Sachs. He had it all, but he risked everything for a little insider information. And then there's Bernie Madoff. The guy was already making $25 to $50 million a year. It wasn't about needing more money to buy things. For these guys, they were already rich beyond belief. It was about something else. This bottomless pit of needing more status, more respect, more influence.
Warren Buffett just summed this up so perfectly. He said, to make money they didn't have and didn't need, they risked what they did have and did need. And that's foolish. I mean, just let that sink in. It's so simple, but it perfectly captures the absolute insanity of it all.
Which really gets to the core of it all. Probably the hardest skill in finance isn't picking stocks. It's getting the goalposts to stop moving. You know, it's that constant social comparison. You get a raise, you buy a bigger house, but then you see your neighbor's even bigger house. It's a game you just can't win. The only way out is to decide for yourself what enough actually looks like.
So this whole battle against always wanting more really comes down to one thing, self-control. It's that classic tug of war between what you want right now and what's actually good for your future self. And you know what?
There's a perfect and pretty famous experiment that shows this in action, and it involves marshmallows.
You've probably seen this one. A kid sits in a room, they're told, you can have this one marshmallow right now, or if you can wait 15 minutes without eating it, you can have two. It's so simple, but it's a profound test of delayed gratification. It's about choosing the future reward over the immediate one. And what they found in long-term studies is just staggering. The kids who could wait for that second marshmallow went on to have much more successful lives. It's all about letting that slow, logical System 2 win the fight against the impulsive System 1. Now, let's bring this back from marshmallows to money, because this is where it gets really serious. Take a look at these retirement savings numbers in the US. Over a fifth of people have zero savings, nothing. Another 10% have less than $5,000. This isn't because they don't know they should save. For so many, it's a lifelong marshmallow test they keep failing. That immediate buzz from spending money today just feels so much better than the distant, abstract idea of a comfortable retirement.
Okay, so we've spent a lot of time diagnosing the issues, right? We've got fear, we've got the status trap, we've got a serious lack of self-control. But pointing out the problem is easy. The real question is, what do we do about it? It's time to put on our money doctor hats and look at some prescriptions.
So what's in our toolkit? Well, first off, we have to intentionally kick our System 2 brain into gear, the thinking brain. Second, we need to get really good at spotting these biases in ourselves. Then there are some clever tricks we can use, like setting up better defaults. Think automatic 401k contributions. It basically puts your good habits on autopilot. And finally, using disciplined systems like rules-based investing can be a total game changer. It helps take your emotional, knee-jerk reactions right out of the picture.
All right, time for a pop quiz. Let's see if you can be the money doctor. Here's your first case. A family buys a house for $300,000. Now, the market's down 20%, but they will not sell it for a penny less than what they paid. So, what's the diagnosis, doctor? What's going on in their heads?
If you said loss aversion, you are spot on. This is a classic case. The pain of locking in a loss feels way worse than the pleasure of an equivalent gain. The prescription here? You have to reframe it. That original purchase price, it's gone. It's a sunk cost. It literally has no bearing on the best decision for your future. The only thing that matters is what the house is worth today.
Okay, you nailed the first one. Let's try case number 2. This one's going to sound familiar to a lot of people. An investor wants to save 20% of their income. Great goal. But every single month, they get to the end, and the money's just gone. So what's the diagnosis for this patient?
This is a textbook case of insufficient self-control, driven by what we call present bias. The desire to spend now just overpowers the goal of saving for later. The prescription? It's genius in its simplicity. You have to pay yourself first. Set up an automatic savings plan. The day you get paid, a chunk of that money goes straight into savings before you even see it. It's a classic nudge. You're not relying on willpower, you're just making the right choice the default choice.
So, we've had some fun playing money doctor, diagnosing the financial mistakes other people make. It's pretty easy to spot these things from the outside, isn't it? But that brings us to the final, and let's be honest, the most important question of all. Now that you know what to look for, can you turn that diagnostic eye on yourself? Can you become the doctor for your most challenging, most important client, you?